Welcome to the Dragon's Library, your source for games, movies, shows, and more. Hello, everybody! Welcome back to the Dragon's Library. Marvel's back again! Yay! So I just got back from seeing Marvel's The Eternals, and it's good. Yeah, it's good. It was a little interesting this time. I really get the feeling that this is like Marvel's attempt at a, Oscar kind of, more experimental kind of film. And I really liked it. I actually really found some of the storytelling in it kind of interesting. But I guess I should get started with the actual review before I get into my whole personal feelings on it. So, I'm trying to make these things more organized, so let's, break it down. This is basically, let's go on the overview plot. So, The Eternals is an interesting property for Marvel. The easiest way I can say it is it's basically Ancient Aliens, but in the Marvel universe, okay? So, to elaborate on that, I'm going to be giving you some comics background that's also going to be sort of relevant for the film. These are just basic comic facts. It's all pretty obvious stuff. The Eternals are actually, fun fact, one of the few Marvel Comics things I've actually read. I read Neil Gaiman's new run on it from a few years ago, so I'm somewhat more up to date on this than most other Marvel's comic book stuff, which is nice. So, The Eternals is a series that has to do with the Celestials. For those of you who don't know what the Celestials are, because you don't, obsessively rewatch Marvel movies, Celestials are a recurring element of the Marvel movies currently, mostly in the Guardians of the Galaxy film. So, Ego the Living Planet, Peter Quill's father, he's a Celestial. Nowhere, the mining colony they go to in the first Guardians movie, that's the head of a dead Celestial. And in the Marvel universe and cosmology, the Celestials are like the gods. You know how you have Odin and Zeus and all them, and they're running around, they're just really advanced alien species? Yeah, they're just really advanced alien species, some primitive species like us, except as gods. The Celestials, on the other hand, are the gods. They remake the universe, create new galaxies, stuff like that. Recycle the old into the new. They're literally the universal gods. And in the Marvel universe, they've basically been used as a sort of retcon device a lot of the time. But their biggest contribution was creating the Eternals. So, a long time ago, ancient aliens happened. The Celestials came to Earth because they like to experiment with places, and their leader, led by their leader, what's his name? Arishem the Judge. And they came down and they messed with humans, and in the comics, they gave us Celestials and Deviants. Now, the movie's a little different. I'll get into that during the movie overview. But the whole thing is the Celestials were basically immortal. They have lots of powers. They usually specialize in one thing, so it's not like a mutant thing, but they're sort of like the mutants, and they all have a unique gift, but it's more like they all really trained in that gift. So, one of them is really, really fast, because he's focused most of his training into being really, really fast for a race that's already super speed. So, really fast. And stuff like that. And that's basically the plot line. They have the Deviants, who are monsters created from these experiments, and the Deviants are trying to cause humanity to get the big old cosmic thumbs down Judgment Day. Meanwhile, the Eternals are trying to stop them because I guess they find us charming. Which, okay, whatever. I mean, I don't really see the appeal, but, I guess aliens have a better view of us, sure. And that's basically the similar enough status quo to get into the movie. So, before we get into so in the movie, we follow, Cersei in the present day. She's basically the main character. She's one of the Eternals. By the way, the Eternals all have, mythological sounding names. And I know this is going to get really confusing because we're about to see Zeus in the new Thor movie. So the Olympian Gods apparently exist in the MCU too. And one of them is called Athena. Athena. Just to clear the slate here, they're not the gods and heroes specifically. Some of them are the heroes from the ancient cultures. If we have not seen their counterpart in the MCU already, you can just assume they were the inspiration. Others, They were one of the inspirations. So Athena was one of the people who inspired Athena. Athena is also a godlike alien, a la, Odin and Thor. Just with the Olympian pantheon. We're going to apparently see more of them in Love and Thunder. I'm looking forward to that. Seems fun. But people also confused Athena with Athena. I know, just roll with it. It's dumb. This is comics. What were you expecting? You also have people like Sprite, who's, all the trickster characters. Druig, who's, the sorceress characters of mythology. They've all played all these roles before. Ajax, it's the name of a Greek hero from the Trojan War. Actually, technically two, but I think he's supposed to be Ajax the Greater. Let's see, who else? You have Circe, who's, the sorceress. Her thing is that she, manipulates matter so she can change the state of matter, turn stone into, gold, she turns a bus into a group of flower petals, stuff like that. Then you have Icarus, who's supposed to be, Icarus. Apparently his name is a joke because Sprite made the myth of Icarus, where he was playing to his death. His whole thing is he flies, moves really fast, and he can, basically shoot lasers out of his eyes. He's basically Superman. They even make that direct comparison. He's basically just their version of Superman. Then you have Kingo. He can fire projectiles from his hands. I'm not sure which mythological figure he's supposed to represent. Sprite does the illusions. You have Fastos, like Hephaestus. He's the whole, tech guy. He's a technopath. Makari, he's super speed, like Mercury. You have Druig. I already talked about him. He's can manipulate the minds of others. He's mind control. Gilgamesh, who's just like super strong. Again, Gilgamesh, he's supposed to be Gilgamesh. In fact, in the movie, they apparently founded the city of Babylon to protect humans from deviants. So, interesting there. Also, in addition to that, and Ajax has like healing abilities and she's like the leader. Athena can create weapons and she's like the best fighter, but there's some more stuff that goes on with her. I actually really liked what they did with her character in the movie. It was very interesting. And then you have Dane Whitman, who's being played by Kit Harington, actually. Guest from Game of Thrones, for the 99% of the people who only know him from that. I mean, I also only know him from that, so, fair game. I actually only know about him from other people I've talked to. So apparently, Circe has a bit more clout than a lot of the other Eternals. Like, she appears in a lot more other stuff, and she was even an Avenger at one point. And she was in a romance with this guy called Dane Whitman. He's a normal human, but he has a legacy of apparently being related to ancient knights, like medieval knights, but not like Sir King Arthur knights, like evil black knights. The dark armor, evils, worked for like the Dark Lord kind of guys. And his family has this evil sword that's been passed down for generations. And so he tries to be a superhero with it, but he has to be careful because otherwise it might, overtake his mind and body and turn him into a supervillain. And him and Circe had like a ridiculously convoluted love story, apparently. She's the, basically a goddess, sorcerer, matter manipulating sorceress. He's the modern guy I think he's a physicist in the, comics, but in this, he's a historian. Works in the Natural History Museum. I actually kind of liked him. He's not in a whole lot of the movie. I would have liked if he was in more of it. Like, if he actually go on the adventure. You really only see him, like, a little bit in the middle, at the very beginning, and at the very end. He's just not there for most of it. But I don't really mind, because they're trying to tell a lot of story, and I can really tell that there were definitely more scenes that they cut down on to get this down to a manageable length. I personally would not mind it if they had stuck an extra 30 minutes and gave us more context. But I do like that the fact they wanted to tell such a long story, made them kind of take a lot of shortcuts of visual storytelling, which I really enjoy. So, let's get into the overarching story. So, the Eternals have been on Earth since like 5000 BC. They came here to protect humans from the Deviants because the Deviants rain down on planets and try and hunt down life according to the Celestials. So Celestials send out Eternals from the planet Olympia to go kill them off to protect the development of sentient life in the universe. The Eternals come down and they go to protect the humans. Of course, they've been ordered by the Celestials to, not interfere in human affairs, and they slowly live through their lives. We then cut to the modern day. There's actually a really cool transition shot where they have this, like, they give the first human that walks up there, Cersei turns this stone knife into, like, this very nice gold, craftsmanship one, and holds it out to him in a gesture of friendship. And, then she sees that actual knife and takes a picture of it on her phone on, like, the big billboard in New York City. Or not in New York, in London. Yeah, she's in London. So, and yeah, that's, it's a cool transition shot. It's interesting. I really like the opening scene. They really capture, like, the alienness of the Eternals compared to the primitive humans that are living there. And as the story continues, it cuts back and forth from the ancient past in various points to the modern day, which I really like. It kind of fleshes out the story in both directions, a little non-linear. Very fun, very fun. Like it a lot. And a new deviant there are some earthquakes going on. A deviant appears and Icarus says, hey, things are going down again, so we need to start, preventing the end of the world. That's the movie. There are a lot of twists and turns in this, actually, way more than I expected, and I'll be honest, I actually read the comics. Again, I said I read the comics from the Neil Gaiman, and this draws heavily from Neil Gaiman's run on the Eternals. I was actually really shocked. I was thinking they were going to draw on all the other stuff. I'm like, no. This is Neil Gaiman's Eternals right here. This is, like, a lot of it's heavily inspired. It's not the same exactly the same plot, but it draws on basically it takes all the pieces and just kind of rearranges them. But it has a twist. So if you read the Neil Gaiman and you're, like, watching this and yeah, I know where this is going. Yeah, they're really setting this up. I see where you're going. It's like, oh wait, that wasn't expected. I won't get to that till the spoilers, but I just need to mention that. I was very impressed by the way they tricked me. I see what you're doing there. All the actors in this are amazing. Gemma Chan is playing Cersei. Richard Madden is Icarus. You have Kumanjani Nanji. I'm sorry, I'm gonna completely butcher that name. I apologize. Kingo. Lear McHung as Sprite. He actually did pretty good for a kid. And let's see here, Lauren Riddoff as Makari. The guy who plays Druig is pretty good. And then you have Kit Harington. Obviously, he's Dane Whitman. He's a good actor. Like, I don't think that's a complicated thing. The guy who plays Gilgamesh, though, Don Lee, I've heard he's in some other stuff. He's really good in this. I really liked him. And then you also have Angelina Jolie as Thena. I want to see her coming back for the sequel, because I actually really liked what they did with Thena in this. Especially since when she was first introduced, she was like the badass warrior of them all. Like the best and strongest. And I really like the direction they pulled her character. Very interesting. Love it. So that's basically it. The effects are amazing. I mean, Marvel is always pretty good with the effects. I actually do like that the final battle was a lot more interesting than these usually are. It wasn't against like a giant CGI army, so if you were worried about a giant CGI army showing up, don't worry. There's no CGI army. I repeat, there is no CGI army. Isn't that nice? The Deviants do show up. I like their design. They're these kind of like almost synthetic, organic creatures. Really cool. The Eternals' power is being visualized by these ethereal, glowing bonds. Energy constructs are pretty cool. All of it's pretty nice. Like it. Will come back for a sequel, most definitely. I mean, it's Marvel. I'll come back for a sequel regardless. But it sets up a lot of stuff. It sets up a possible Black Knight movie. It definitely sets off Eternals 2. It sets up a spin-off. I'll be talking about, it sets up like maybe a spin-off or two in addition to that. All of it's really interesting. Love it. Highly recommend. I'm going to definitely give this a 9 out of 10. I think it struggles in some parts. There's some areas where it's just, it's not that any part of the movie is bad for me. I think basically all of it works, but it also feels like this is a movie that was cut down a bit. They could have used some more time to establish things. It feels like they jump around a lot. But I do also feel like they utilized the time they had available really well. they set up things without necessarily having to share them. Show, don't tell. One of the best parts is during some of the opening scenes in Babylon, when all the others are like partying and, enjoying and reveling in their power and defending them. Cersei is just out there like working with the peasants, talking with them. And you have this moment where Icarus goes to help her out. And she's really surprised that he's learned the language. And just from that alone, like, nobody had to say anything, but we get Icarus stays away from the humans. He doesn't interact with them much because it's a surprise he's even learned the language. Meanwhile, Cersei is helping him out. All these peasants seem to know her. She's helping till the field. She's helping do all this stuff. She's not intervening, but she's doing all she can to make sure their community prospers, and she really seems to care about them a lot. So we immediately get a core dynamic for their relationship. We get Icarus is distant. We get him more focused on their mission, less focused on the humans, detached. Meanwhile, Cersei is the more emotional one. She cares for this planet. She cares for the people on it. And she's willing to get down and dirty and actually help all of them. Not just the people living in the city or partying at the night, but even just the peasants working in the fields. She's out there doing it, and the others focus more on just general defense against the deviants. Which is interesting. I really like that dynamic. And it's amazing that they set all of this up without actually explaining anything. They just have a few scenes of her helping out, and Icarus begrudgingly joining her, and then one scene of, I'm surprised you learned the language. Just that, and we get that whole relationship completely explained. Which is very economic storytelling. I'm very impressed with that. And there are small little details like this all throughout it. There are a lot of people, I think, who are going to watch this and expect exposition to be handed out to them. And be like, they didn't explain anything. I'm like, they did. They just didn't say it. They showed you. They showed Sprite always being kind of looked down on, just on the side. They showed his longing for other things. I mean, another character even points out one point, like, an obvious, Sprite, like, the fact that Sprite, like, something about Sprite, and it's like, what, you didn't all see this? It's like, it's obvious. Have you not been watching the way she reacts? Like, duh. And I really like that. There were just small little details like that. All the characters get really fleshed out if you're willing to actually observe them. Which is interesting. So yeah, very much like them. I also really love the Fastos too. That one scene with him was, I'm gonna talk about that in spoilers, but yeah. Yeah, all in all, very good. Has a very unique style of storytelling. More focused on showing, don't telling. Like I said, this is basically the closest thing I think Marvel's ever gonna give us to like an art house film. They're definitely trying to push this as, hey, nominate this for Best Picture. I don't think it will be, I just do not see the Oscars giving a shit about this movie. But I think it should be. I think this is a very good movie. And it's going to be way better than most people are going to rate it. Yeah. As for the rest, 9 out of 10, easily 9.5 out of 10. One of the best things I've seen this year. Highly recommend it. Okay. From here on out, we're going to go full spoilers. So, if you want to go see the movie first, go see it, and then come back here and listen to this all over again. Because I could really use the views. Or not the views, the listens, I guess? What do you call a podcast? Downloads? I think it's downloads for Buzzsprout. Regardless. Alright. So, first up. What was the plot twist I was saying? Okay, so when they go out, so the characters first, first it's just Cersei and, Sprite, and they're, living together. There are two of the Eternals that haven't drifted as far apart as the others. Sprite's visiting, because she usually lives with Ajax, and, she was just sent to check on Cersei, live around her for a while, make sure they're still connected. They finished killing the Deviants years ago, so now they're just enjoying Earth, while they wait for it to be called back to their home. However, after a deviant attacks them, seems to be able to utilize the healing ability of Ajax, they go to check on her with Icarus, who, joined them and went to go check on her and found the deviant attacking her. Well, surprise, surprise, Ajax is dead. And there's this really interesting part. Again, this movie is very good about setting things up without actually having the characters say, and this is it. And so, were you the one who did it? Because they just have this small scene where Sprite's showing an illusion of him just having a good night with Ajax, and she's like, that was the last time I saw her. And you really get it, it's just Sprite trying to express her grief, but you also get that, we're supposed to think, oh, Sprite was the last person who saw her, so obviously she must have done it. especially if you read the comics. See, in the comics, the Gilgamesh run the Eternals. All the Eternals have lost all their memories and are basically been reduced to humans, except for Icarus. And it's later revealed the one who did it was Sprite because he was tired. He was basically gone insane from being locked in a child body forever. And so I was expecting the entire movie. Okay, she was the last one that saw Ajax. He killed her. And somehow the deviant absorbed her powers either before or during the whole thing. No. Plot twist, it was Icarus. Which I just love. It completely subverts your expectations. Because Icarus is usually like the de facto protagonist for a lot of the Eternal stories I've read. And I really like how they completely twisted it. It's like, we expected Sprite to be the one who did all this. Or even just Druid, because he's usually one of the more amoral one of the Eternals. Or even Thena, because she has things where she sometimes hooks up with deviants, although that's a little harder to believe in this movie because of reasons I'll get into in a little while. But no, it was the one you least expected. Oh, except for Cersei. It was obviously not Cersei. Duh. She's basically the audience POV character. And meanwhile, we get cut back and forth between this and Babylon. We see the the Eternals wandering the earth, watching as humanity destroys itself over and over again, wishing to intervene. Druid breaks off shortly after they finish hunting the deviants, because he's sick of not intervening. He takes a group of humans that have been committing a massacre, walks out into the forest, and the others can't have the heart to chase him down. And before all of this, though, Athena starts displaying mental damage. She starts trying to attack everyone around her, and they're barely able to calm her down. And it's revealed this is a thing that happens sometimes. It's basically a mental defect that comes from these eternal lives and all the memories, and she needs to go through a mind wipe, which immediately makes you start questioning the whole nature of the Eternals, and you're completely right to. Of course, the others don't want to wipe her memories because then she won't be Athena anymore. So, Gilgamesh agrees to watch over her in basically pseudo-exile away from all the others because he's strong enough to keep her contained whenever she snaps. And they basically just go out and live in complete exile for the next few hundred years. And the others slowly break off into groups and slowly drift apart. They randomly snipe at each other, just disappearing. Cersei gets mad at Icarus, yeah, he just left one day and never came back after we were married for 5,000 years. What a jerk. There's this offhand comment with Kingo. It says, I never left any of you. And Sprite's you abandoned me in the middle of this era. And I was about to wander home alone, to the other side of a continent. And it's oh, wow. Eternal, when you're immortal, you have a lot of opportunities to be an a-hole. And they just kind of drifted apart. Druid's running his own little cult in the rainforest, and it's totally a cult. Gilgamesh and Athena are living in the middle of the desert, separated from the rest of the world because Athena's still dangerous to other people. She starts ranting about the world ending. Hint, hint. Icarus grew distant and drifted away. Ajax just kind of wanted them to live their own lives and not be ruled by her while they wait to return. And Sprite just kind of was unable to find any place to belong because Kingo even abandoned him because guess what? He got tired of having to move every 2 years because people noticed that the kid wasn't aging. Because turns out it's a lot harder to realize that a kid isn't aging as compared to an adult. Which means Sprite is constantly having to move and never, get roots. He can never find a place to belong because he always has to leave. And nobody takes him seriously because to the rest of the world, she's just a child, it really is sad. I feel for Sprite heavily in this film. Not to mention, she loves Icarus, and he's never seen her as anything other than, a good friend. Again, partially due to her appearance. She even has a mental breakdown at one point. She even, just breaks at one point. It's why did they make me like this? Why did the all-powerful Celestials just decide, oh yeah, for kicks, one of us is giving a kid? She hates what she is. In the end of the movie, she even agrees to give up her immortality to become a human because she would rather age and be respected and live an actual fulfilling life and have the things that have been constantly denied to her than live as a child forever. And it's very interesting. Like, who would you accept immortality if it meant you lived as like a 13, 14-year-old for the rest of eternity? Literally, you'd never be able to drive, you'd never be able to drink, you'd never be taken as an adult, even after you were thousands of years old. Imagine being older than than any human civilization on Earth, and still being treated like a dumb teenager. That is a fate worse than death right there. And of course, this strange new deviant. Most of the deviants in this movie are like monsters, but this one's certainly gaining more intelligence. It kills a few of the Eternals, absorbing their powers. It kills Gilgamesh. It killed Ajax, and it's absorbing their powers and getting stronger and more intelligent. Then there's Phastos. Phastos was always trying to give humans technology way faster. He tried to give the Babylonians a steam engine to help them irrigate fields. But they were like, no, we need to do it slowly. Just give them a plow, okay? They can learn and develop. And when they have to go get him in the modern setting, they flash back to, because it's like, he kind of ran off from the rest of humanity. He gave up on humanity a long time ago, and you see why, and it's the bombing of Hiroshima. He was one of the scientists who helped work on the Manhattan Project, because he wanted to help, develop nuclear power for the world. That seems like a positive way to push humans. And you just see Ajax walking up to him. He's standing there in like this lab, a scientist outfit. And he's just sitting there in the wreckage of Hiroshima, surrounded by this blasted hellscape. And just, what have I done? They did this. I gave them the tools to do this. All these people are dead because I gave them these tools. Because he had been pushing the boundaries of their science, giving them this advanced technology again and again, over and over. They would not be at this level right now if it were not for him, and he knows it. He eventually apparently found love again. He, found a guy he liked, and they adopted a kid together, and he's like, yeah, this is all I have. Like, they're the only things that remind me these days that there's something good left in humanity after what I saw. And, he's motivated to stop the end of the world because obviously he doesn't want them to die. And there's a plot twist, because of course there is. So they're kind of fusing this with some other stuff I've heard about from the Celestials, but the basic plot goes like this. The Celestials, basically use planets with sentient life sometimes as breeding grounds of sorts. So, the way it works is, they seed a planet with a celestial embryo of sorts. So the planet becomes sort of an egg. Then they help develop life upon it. They first did this with the deviants, actually. See, the deviants were supposed to hunt all predators so that intelligent life would have a better chance of evolving on the planet. Because intelligent life gives off a sort of energy that the embryonic celestial is able to feed over. And once it reaches a certain threshold, the celestial can erupt from the planet and hatch. However, the deviants were too good at hunting their prey, and it started hunting the sentient species. So, they created the Eternals, who were sort of like biological, celestial, hybrid machines. They're more like machines than living things, which is why they don't age and they don't really have a lot of the restrictions. But they're born from celestial energy, so they're kind of alive. It's complicated. And the Celestials sent them down there, usually wiping their memory regularly, although storing those memories so that they could learn about the deviants to try and correct their mistake. And they're supposed to keep life on track, protect the life from the deviants so they can grow and expand. They even mentioned at one point the reason they're not supposed to interfere is because the only goal is to encourage human growth, and wars lead to medical advances, which means more humans stay alive, which means in the long term, large wars mean that the human population will grow more so. At least that's their logic. It's a kind of twisted, by not helping, you force them to adapt and made it more likely they're going to live especially with your help in the more dangerous times you are supposed to protect them from. And all of a sudden, you have a bigger population. I'm not sure how that works, but, it's a sci-fi explanation, so it can make a sort of sense and be okay. And it's revealed that Ajax knew this, that the planet was going to explode, that humanity was doomed. She knew this from the start. And, plot twist, after Babylonia's fall, Icarus knew it too. And Ajax started to have second thoughts. She wanted to maybe try and protect it. Find a way to maybe put the new Sleeping Celestial, whose name is the same as the one in the comic Neil Gaiman did, Tiamat, which, fun fact, is a Babylonian goddess. Ooh, interesting. Mythology facts. You didn't think you were going to get those today, but you got them anyway. I love Tiamat. She appears as a dragon sometimes, so, I have to respect that. She does, the Babylonian goddess doesn't actually have that much to do with the Tiamat in the movie. I just thought, mythology facts are fun. Mythology facts. Only here. And at OSP, but, Anyway, however, when they erupt, they're gonna basically break open the whole planet like an egg, so bye-bye humanity. Ajax actually seems to be impressed, though. See, apparently Thanos' snap set this whole plan back because it delayed the emergence because there wasn't enough life to sustain it. However, the humans undid the snap, and Ajax is starting to have regrets as a result. She thinks it's amazing. They did what no other person could. They brought back half the universe. This planet is responsible for all the life in the universe that is now there that Thanos had killed. And, she explains that she also, fell in love with this planet over time. But you also get part of it is, yes, these humans have paid their debts to the universe. See, the idea is that Celestials are allowed to destroy these planets in order to be born because they also do things like create new solar systems and suns. They basically recycle energy in the universe to prevent it from falling to heat death. They're basically the Marvel Universe's explanation for why their universe will never experience heat death. Which is where, all matter spreads out far enough, there isn't enough energy, and everything just goes cold and dead. I'm extremely oversimplifying that, by the way. And it's a genuine theory about how the universe might end. The Celestials are basically meant to stop it. They, absorb this energy from living things, destroy the planets, and use all of that stuff to make new galaxies. They keep the universe fresh and alive. But you get the feeling that Ajax believes that humanity has already paid their debt because they've brought back half of all life in the universe. That is definitely worth one Celestial. And they don't have to kill it. They can find ways to suppress it or work on it. There are other options. Of course, Icarus doesn't believe this, and he kills her. She lures her. He says he found these group of, deviants, and he lures her there, drops her down to the pit. Her only ability is healing. She's meant to be the leader. She gets killed. The powerful deviant we've been dealing with that's been stealing abilities started with her, and that's why it's more intelligent than the others. It created like this specialized pack. Gave them the abilities of their own, that kind of thing. Icarus then brought her body back and left it for them to find, so they'd all be very confused, while knowing they only had 7 days left. He was using the deviant killing Ajax and all the side plots to try and distract them so that they wouldn't have enough time to stop the actual problem. The solution they eventually go on is trying to use Druig to mind control the Celestial. Now, they're doing this by basically fusing together into a giant brain, the Overmind. It's an ability from the comics. It basically lets him amplify one Celestial by using the others as batteries and amplifiers. The plan was basically use Druig, amplify him up a bunch, and put all the Celestials to sleep. By the way, Erisham is not that on board with this. He wants, things to go on as planned. Eventually, Cersei ends up using the Overmind herself and turns the newborn Celestial Tiamat to stone. He's now his face and hand is now a new island in the middle of the Pacific, so that's interesting. Icarus is unable to strike the final blow, which lets her do this, and even submits the Overmind, connecting him and them to the Celestial as it's dying, maybe granting them some of its power. Sprite had sided with him, not because he believed it was right, but because she loved him. And she was the only one who actually did. The others kind of fell into disarray, but of course some of them have actual families and loved ones on this planet, so they're going to fight for it. After Druid gets taken out, though, she decides to do it herself because she had manipulated life before when one of the deviants when she was pushed further. Sort of stress equals more power. Happens a lot with superheroes. And yeah. It basically just revolves around that. After the Celestial's taken care of, though, there's some more stuff. There are two really cool secondary scenes. Spoiler stuff. So, in the first post-credit scene, we get to see, the Dane Whitman, I should talk about the ending. So, at the ending, they save the world, and they're back to talking with it. Dane Whitman's like, yeah, you're not the only one with some secrets. So, if we're being honest on the table, and then all of a sudden, Arishem the judge, the Celestial, appears in the sky, rips Cersei and the other three Eternals who had decided to stay on the planet. By the way, 3 of the Icarus flew into the sun, and I know, Icarus flew into the sun. Yeah. We all know the mythological reference there. And 3 other Celestials, I believe, was Athena, Druig, and I want to say, no, Sprite's on the planet, so... No, because it's Kingo, Phastos, and Cersei who are on the planet, so that has to be... It's Mikari, she's actually cool. She's actually deaf, played by a deaf actor, which is really nice. She's super speed. She actually fights Icarus. She's one of the only ones who can match him. So Mikari, Athena, and Druig go into the spaceship. So they're on the planet when Arishem grabs them. He's like, fine, you saved him, so these people will be spared for now. But I shall judge them in your memories, and when I return, they will be given their sentence. And then he teleports away with, the 3 Eternals who stayed. Sprite, Kingo, and Cersei. And Phastos. Actually, I don't think he grabs Sprite, because Sprite's a human now. Right, so it's just Phastos, Cersei, and Kingo. All of whom have lives and loved ones down there. Which, pretty big problem. He's grabbed right before Dane Whitman. So the post-credit scene is him like, I need this power. I have to save her. So, he's gonna pull out the ancient evil blade, but right before he's about to touch it, he's like, are you sure you're gonna do that? Oh, somebody knows there. The voice sounded familiar. Actually, I want to look this up real quick. Because I know that voice that said, are you sure you want to take that sword, sounded really, really familiar. What was it? Oh my god, it was Blade. Okay, so a guy who gave him a warning about picking up the blade is apparently playing Blade, which is interesting. It's very interesting. It's the same guy who played the Prowler in Into the Spider-Verse. That's where I'd heard him before. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Blade then. That's gonna be fun. And apparently the Black Knight, Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, is going to appear in Blade. So, I'm just all on board for this new direction Marvel's going. They're going full weird. So, let's see here. The new Marvel Universe is ancient aliens, modern day Black Knight, who's fighting against an evil sword, Wanda, potentially evil, not evil Vision, Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh god, this is amazing. This is all so great. Shang-Chi, new Doctor Strange stuff, new Peter Parker Spider-Man stuff. I love the direction Marvel is going in right now. It's just so weird and bizarre, and this is like the experimental phase of this kind of project. They've gotten past the formula, now they're going full on experimental. I love the direction they're going. It's gonna be a lot of fun coming up. There's just so many interesting ways you can take all this stuff, Now, they do have one final mythology reference that I didn't know about from the comics. That's just really interesting. So, after Arishem grabs all the Eternals on the planet, an Eternal and a elf, I think, pop into the Eternals in space because they were like, we can't get in contact with them. Something's happened. Arishem must have come for them. And this guy called Eros pops in and says he's the brother of Thanos. Now, I didn't know about this character, but I love this reference so much. Okay, for those of you who don't know, in Greek mythology, the overall timeline of the mythology is very murky because every mythology has murky timeline. I mean, seriously, every religion, every mythology has an inconsistent timeline. That's how you know they're not real. But regardless, Eros and Thanatos are 2 gods in Greek mythology. Now, Thanatos is a obvious reference to Thanos. He's the god of death, as in he's the god who's responsible for actually killing people, not the god of the dead, who is Hades. The only reason any of you might know this is because A, he was in the sequel series to the Percy Jackson books, Blood of Olympus, and B, he was in Hades, the video game. So if you read a lot of books, or you play a lot of video games, you probably know about Thanatos these days. Now, you don't know as much about Eros, although people who know the myth of Psyche and Eros will know about Eros. He's like the god of love. Specifically, he's, the god, he's Cupid, basically. He's Cupid. There's your pop culture reference. I hate Cupid, but fine, he's Cupid. Ugh. Evil Cupid, basically. Regardless, the point I'm trying to make is Thanatos and Eros in mythology are brothers. They're both the children of Nyx. Or Chaos. No, it's Nyx. Yeah, they're both the children of Nyx. So they are brothers, which I love. I really like that. Or not the children of Nyx, I'm sorry. In Hades, the story, Hades, he's a child of Nyx. But I believe in, the Theogony, he was created by Chaos, I want to say. Regardless, Eros and Thanatos are often compared as opposites in Greek mythology. Love and death. And the pleasure of life and the end of it. They're regular opposites, which is very interesting because it's a very deep cut reference I really like. Lot of fun there. You do. Let me make this easy for you. Anyone who's making something because you want to appeal to me, I'm not sure why you would want to. I'm pretty easy to appeal to. You can appeal to other people, not just me. But if you really want to appeal to me, there are a few ways. First, include dragons, obviously. Second, deep cut mythology references will get me every time. So yeah, I really like this film, partially because, again, lots of deep cut mythology references. They did have a deviant that looked like a dragon, but, that wasn't a huge thing because they immediately killed it. Oh, you killed the dragon. Why'd you kill the dragon? It was just trying to eat people. Regardless, a lot of fun. Really like this movie, like I said. 9.5 out of 10. And that's that. I'm having a little speed bumps with getting the YouTube channel up, as I mentioned before. But I am working on it. I swear it's going to get up soon. Next week, not next week, but so I believe it's Sophie. Yeah, so next Tuesday, a week from next Tuesday, I will be trying to start my stream of Diamond and Pearl. I will hopefully get information to that by next week. I'm trying to get it all settled out. I have a lot of other stuff going on right now. Work is getting really busy. I'm about to get a new job. And there's just a lot of stuff going on with the game and the channel. So don't worry. The podcast is going to be here both on, your Tuesday release and your Friday release. I'm really going to try and make sure these stay on schedule. Coming up for the future. Let's see here. So next Tuesday, I'm going to be reviewing Hades, the video game, by Supergiant Games. And I'm also working on finishing up a book, so you can look forward to that. I know, finally, a week without a movie. I know, we've just had a lot of movie releases recently. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break from movies for about, a week or two. We'll see how long it lasts. Probably not long, because we got Ghostbusters Afterlife and Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City both coming up soon. A lot of other stuff coming up soon. So, busy week. We'll gain those new Pokemon games. Look forward to all that. So I guess I'll just see you guys next time. Bye. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and thank you for listening to the Dragon's Library. Please subscribe to this podcast to be notified of new episodes. The Dragon's Library releases new episodes Tuesday and Friday each week, and you can follow us on Twitter at dragon_library2. If you want to suggest an episode topic, my email is in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for all your support.